Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. Happy Thanksgiving. It's that time of the year already. I can't believe it. It's insane that we're at Thanksgiving in November. Obviously November, but that we're in November and it's Thanksgiving. It's crazy to me. I don't know what the hell happened to this year. But anyway, yeah, happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's been enjoying their day. I know I have. I've been cooking all day, which has been fun. I always do the cooking because I've just it's been my thing for a long time. I used to cook in restaurants. That was like what I did for a job. So I learned a lot of shit when I was doing that, which makes it easier for me to cook because I enjoy doing it and I know a lot of little tricks and you know, I'm constantly learning and putting some of my, I guess, talents to test and, checking to make sure that still remember how to do all of it. Because it's been well over what 10 no it's been well no it's been well over 15 years since I was a cook in a restaurant. I think I did like a short kind of 2 month thing, 1 month thing maybe, to fill in for a friend back a while back. That was probably like 6 years, 8 years ago, maybe. But yeah, that was fun. It was cool to get back in the kitchen and work for a few. But I don't miss working nights and weekends all the time. And you know, all of the holidays pretty much on a Thanksgiving, I'd normally be at the restaurant. That's kind of how it used to work. Then I'd have to come home and cook and do stuff like that. So it was kind of weird. That was way back in the day. But yeah, hope everybody's been having a good Thanksgiving. Cheers to you all out there. I've been having my drinks here and there throughout the day as I've been cooking because that's just how we do things. Got to get through the day and make sure you're loose and having a good time and not stressing too much. So that's pretty much how my day's gone. It's been a nice, chill day, not too stressful with cooking, which normally I have a mental freak out here and there thinking that I screwed something up or I get overwhelmed with all the things I'm cooking. But this year, I think I planned it right and I just kind of went at it and everything turned out pretty well. We don't do full turkey anymore because everybody likes pretty much the breast anyway. That's what we mostly go with. I don't know what's going on with my lights, by the way. It depends on the color. I figured this color would be okay, kind of a fall type color, and apparently it doesn't like it. It's flashing. So if you see that throughout the time, no, my house isn't haunted. But someone said that last night. um, but it's just, or the other night, I guess it was, but I don't know what's going on with the lights. Who cares? Anyway, I don't make a full turkey anymore. We just do the turkey breast. So it's nice. It comes out juicy, flavorful. I change up the flavors every year, do different stuff with it. I've wrapped it in bacon before. I've done all kinds of stuff with it. So it's fun. It's cool. You can do different things just like you can with a full turkey. So, and then we also did some ham, all the normal stuff, cornbread, mashed potatoes, all that good stuff. Everything came out really good. Shout out to Terrence with the Camp 8. I incorporated that in this year. That's my buddy from another podcast. If you haven't seen it, he has his Camp 8 seasonings, which are really good now that I know and that I got some. I've been doing podcasts with him for a while and uh hadn't gotten any, and then finally hooked it up recently, and yeah, it's really good stuff. It's good to add to my cabinet of seasonings. That's definitely something I like to do is season things. I don't like it when things are plain. I don't like it when, you know, there's just no flavor to stuff. So that's one of my favorite things is to make sure I have a lot of flavor. So um anyway, if you had dinner already, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're having it now, well, you're probably listening to this later. But It's been a good day. I just wanted to, from the top, just acknowledge obviously it's Thanksgiving. And yes, I'm here on Thanksgiving. But I had to take a little time for myself and do my thing. I've been cooking all day. We had dinner with the family. So everybody's just chilling now. And the kids have significant others. So they go other places here and there. At least one of them is now at her boyfriend's house. So they'll be back to hang out in a while, but for now, hearing something weird going on outside my room. But for now, uh they're out with that. So, split time means just kind of chill downtime here at the house. So of course I got to jump on and do my podcast cuz I'm trying to keep this going at a steady pace and make sure that I stay consistent. And I've been keeping it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to go on at 7 today, but it worked out. It was kind of perfect. Had a nice little nap. I had to sleep off that food and running around doing all the cooking and stuff. So I had to take a little rest, recharge before I jumped on here. So I didn't wasn't a bumbling idiot, I guess. Because after a long day of cooking and stuff like that, it gets to be a lot. So uh anyway, let's see what else. I wanted to make sure I mentioned the things I was thankful for. I mean, that's usually what Thanksgiving's about is remembering that, you know, there's things that you got to be thankful for, no matter what you're going through in life or what's going on with things around you. You always got to make sure you take a second and just remind yourself of the good things you got going. If you feel like you got nothing good going, let's hope that that's only for a short period of time. Uh, I've been lucky to have a great family, a great wife, great kids. Um, uh, just lucky to have a good job and to have good people around me and be able to, do stuff like this when back in the day I'd be working two jobs or I'd be out at my job instead of home for the holidays. So to be able to have the whole day and tomorrow off and then the rest of the normal weekend is great and I love it. It just feels great to know that I have all that. So I'm always gonna I gotta show my gratitude and be thankful for all that stuff. All my extended family, my mom and dad, and my sister, my brother-in-law, Christo, and all my nieces. And I love everybody, and I think about everybody on these days. And we may not all get together every year or anything like that, but I love everybody, and they're always in my thoughts. And you know, we always text each other, say happy Thanksgiving and whatnot. And yeah, that's it's just one of those things you gotta always do. Even if it means it's only on the holidays, if you're not close with people, at least, send out that happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas or anything like that. I'm not that great at it. I don't do it all the time either, but I try to remember. But I still think about people and I'm thankful for everything. So and I'm thankful for all of you. If you're out there watching or if you watch this later, just know I'm thankful for you and I appreciate your support. And it's Thanksgiving, so you got to got to be in the spirit and say thanks. But yeah. Um there's not a lot going on this week when it comes to the main topic of discussion on this podcast, which is, MMA and combat sports, not a ton. And that's cuz it's Thanksgiving, so that's about how it goes, but I'm still here and I'm still doing it because there is one event going on that's pretty big and it's a different organization that I really haven't talked about much on here because there really hasn't been a lot of events happening while I've been trying to cover everything and going through everything. So it's the PFL, which is the Professional Fighters League, formerly known as the World Series of Fighting. If you were following a few years back or a couple years back, and that might you might recognize that, or you might have heard of UFC fighters that are now fighting in the UFC that they refer back to the World Series of Fighting. That's what they're referring to. So that league is structured a bit differently, Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they're having an event, which is their world championship event. They have like, I don't even know how pretty much every, let's see, I gotta remember, have it up here, but it doesn't tell me specifically. Anyway, every weight, oh, there it is, 6 weight classes, and every weight class has a championship fight, and pretty much everybody's fighting. Every weight class gets a $1 million purse. That's what they're fighting for, and that's what they win. So the structure is a bit different, and for it to be happening on Thanksgiving weekend is it's actually tomorrow, for so even crazier Black Friday, when a lot of people are more focused on being online or being out at a store and shopping. They're going to have an event, and it's a pay-per-view, and it's the first one that the first pay-per-view event that they've had that you have to pay for. So we'll see what their numbers look like. It's on ESPN Plus, so it's a big, I guess, a big platform, because obviously the UFC is on ESPN Plus as well. So it's a good platform for MMA, but is it gonna do big numbers? I don't know. They have a lot of ex UFC fighters in the mix. They have arguably the best women's MMA fighter at the moment, who is kind of shades of Ronda Rousey type. She's an ex judo champion. She's a she finishes people with arm bars, and but she's a bigger girl. She fights in the I'm sorry, light heavyweight, not that big. Jeez. For a girl, that's a lot in fighting, but lightweight. 155. I lost my train of thought there. She fights at 155. So that's bigger than any other women's weight class in any other MMA promotion. So PFL has that weight class, and uh Kayla Harrison is actually the biggest star they have, pretty much. She's like the face of the PFL, and she's won over and over and over again. She's won this $1 million purse for a couple seasons now, because that's what they do. They do seasons. It's not just nonstop, like Vegas fights or pay-per-view fights. It's like they do seasons. So they work off of points. Those points build up. They have playoffs. So it's kind of structured like a normal mainstream kind of sport, like football, baseball, basketball, that kind of thing. So if you haven't heard of it, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. I can go over it a little more, but it's like it's a lot of stuff. You kind of got to just watch it. It's hard to follow a bit, because you do have to follow it for the season, or figure out the point system. They have points for like finishing fights, so it's kind of an incentive based type thing. The earlier you finish a fight, the better, whether it be submission or you know TKO, KO, and you get more points for finishing earlier, or you still get more points for getting the finish as the fight goes on, but it's less than if you did in the first round, stuff like that. A decision's only worth a certain amount of points, and that point structure is what gets you through to the playoffs, and then eventually gets you through into the championships. And it's a little bit confusing, because I've actually seen fighters that have lost but are still in, even though it's like a single elimination playoff. I don't know. I might be mistaken, but like I said, it's a lot to keep up with. But there's just like every other organization, it's got its ups and its downs, pros and cons. Uh Not sure how I feel about the structure of it. It hasn't seemed to caught on a it hasn't seemed to have caught on a ton, I guess. A lot of people still don't know what the PFL is. It was like kind of on, I think it was when it first started, it was like on ABC or something, like, I don't remember. One of those mainstream kind of channels, which you would think would bring a lot of maybe not popularity, but viewership, I guess, because it was free on regular TV. But now it's on ESPN, ESPN Plus. So Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't covered it a ton because there hasn't been much going on since I've been really getting into this podcast. So here we are. But Kayla Harrison's definitely one of the biggest names in MMA right now. She's highly touted to be a big contender to fight Amanda Nunes, who everyone says is actually the GOAT, when it comes to women's MMA. And they're not wrong. I mean, she has the resume to back it up, but Kayla Harrison's undefeated. And like I said, it's like shades of Ronda Rousey. She kind of has that same background. She has that same style, and she has that same kind of clout around her. Um, so it's tough. It's tough to say, especially because the girl, the woman she's fighting this week, she's already fought twice before and beat her twice before. So she doesn't have a deep like roster of people to fight. So, and it's not the same caliber as maybe the UFC's 145-pound division. So that's a lot of the things that people hold against Kayla Harrison and her career at the moment. But no, regardless, she's doing big things, and we're gonna get into that here in a few. The other couple things, I believe there's a BKFC card this weekend. It's a UK card. I don't know too many of the fighters on it. There hasn't been a lot of promotion. You can go on the BKFC website and see what that's about. I'm not gonna go over it today because there's only one, and there's a lot to go over with the PFL. And like I said, I just kind of trying to break it down a little bit if you don't understand it, give you a little insight into it, kind of like I did with one championship. That's kind of something I wanted to do this time. So going deep into that BKFC card is going to be tough. And like I said, they don't promote their off-brand kind of cards that much. Like when they have their numbered events, like BKFC 33, the last one, BKFC 34, stuff like that, they promote those a lot. You see promotion in various places, and you see a lot more of it, even though they don't promote as much as the bigger organizations like the UFC and stuff like that do, but you still see a lot more of it when it's their numbered events. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive too deep into that one. But if you're into BKFC, go check out their website. I believe that's tomorrow as well, if not Saturday, but I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow, their event. So it's probably at a weird time because it's in the UK. I highly doubt they're doing it at a different time in the UK. They're probably catering to that market. So go check that out if you're into it. Otherwise, PFL is the thing to watch this weekend if you want to see some MMA, especially or combat sports in general. That's what you're going to want to look for. But I wanted to maybe start it off with a little bit of MMA news because there's been some stuff going on this week. So we'll just get into that now. The biggest thing going on this week is the fact that for UFC 282, the main event was going to be Yuri Prohaska versus Glover Teixeira for the rematch of the title fight for the light heavyweight title, because Yuri actually beat Glover to win that title, but it seems as if Yuri has gotten a really bad shoulder injury, which I'm not sure what. I still haven't. It's been so crazy the past couple days. I haven't. This happened yesterday, and I haven't been able to really dig deep into what happened. All I know is I kept seeing something about Dana White saying that it was the nastiest shoulder injury he's ever seen. So I'm not really sure what that means, but I do know that he's out of the fight. And interesting interesting enough, like he actually vacated the title as well. So he was supposed to be fighting to defend his title, and because of this injury and the fact that he's supposed to be out for 6 months to a year. So that's going to hold up the division big time, as we've seen in the past with like Dominic Cruz and people like Dominic Cruz is the one that always comes to my mind because he was hurt for so many years in a row. While he was champ, they kept making interim fights because he would get better and then he would hurt himself again. So I guess Yuri decided that, I don't know if he decided or if he was forced. That's kind of up in the air because you don't know what's happening in the background all the time. You don't know what the UFC's been known to put pressure on people that they feel need to have the pressure put on them to get these fights made. So it sounds to me like he did it on his own accord, but who knows? So either way, he's out of his fight. He released kind of a statement on Twitter, and I'm just going to read a little bit of this because it kind of says a little more into what's happening. He said, "I'm very disappointed to announce that I will not be defending my belt at UFC 282. I was injured in training in Las Vegas while finishing my preparation for my title defense in the UFC's light heavyweight division. I injured my shoulder and surgery is required, which will put me out of action for at least 6 months," which I heard it's more towards a year. That's what's pressing this so hard. I think that's him being, kind of wishful thinking. 6 months, but you never know. Some of these guys get out of injuries quickly, and it's kind of hard to believe. And some people come out and try to jump back into fighting and training way too quick and hurt themselves and are out for even longer. So let's hope he doesn't do that because it sucks that he lost his belt this way. Anyway, continuing on, knowing this information, I've decided after consulting with the UFC management, so there you go, that due to this time constraint, I will not hold the light heavyweight division. I will not hold up the light heavyweight division and will vacate the title. I will go for the UFC belt as soon as the doctors give me the green light to fight. I'm going to go for the belt and I'm going to get it no matter who currently holds it. It's always been the most important thing for me to put on the best performance and compare myself to the best. Let the best show no matter who's there now. I'll be back in 6 months and I'll take the title, whoever holds it. I apologize to my fans, friends, family who bought tickets and made plans to come to Las Vegas to support me. It means a lot to me. I also want to apologize to Glover. Victory as well, he ends that with. So, I mean, he's a stand-up dude. Like, I like him because it just seems like he kind of has that spirit about him, that warrior spirit that kind of comes out in guys when they have true respect for the sport and the art of, the martial arts in general. So it's cool to see it. I saw things going around saying that, that's how much of a warrior he is. He knows that it's shameful it's a shameful thing to hold up the division and to hold a belt that he didn't earn because he didn't fulfill, his obligations, I guess. So just in honor and respect to the sport and the organization and everybody in it, that's why he decided to vacate the belt, which is honorable. I mean, I'll give him that. But that little piece in there that says after consulting with UFC management, I've heard stories in the past. I don't know if you looked at that or paid attention to any of that, but a lot of pressure gets put down. And, they just fought not that long. I mean, it hasn't even been a year. And Yuri hasn't even got to defend his belt yet. And this was going to be his first defense as a rematch against Glover. And yeah, this is how it ends. So that sucks. And I feel bad for him because as of right now, like, I like the guy. He's a little bit weird and he's a little crazy, like, when it comes to some of the things that he does and says, but seems like a good dude. And I like him as a fighter, and I appreciate his fights, really. For him to have won the belt like he did and to beat Glover of all people. Yeah. I respect the guy and I feel bad for him. So yeah, now they already announced and made a new title fight for that. So it's obviously it needed to be done quickly because December 10th is when the fight is. So the new title fight is Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. So it's number 2 versus number 3 in the rankings, which makes me happy that they kind of put that together. I was wondering why Glover wasn't involved in the new event, I'm sorry, in the new matchup or the new fight that they made, because I'm like, well, he nothing happened to him, right? But he said that he was willing to fight Jan, but wasn't willing to fight Ankalaev because he said that that's just a whole different kind of fight, and pretty much he needed time to be able to uh prepare for a fight like that. And the fact that Jan kind of fights like Yuri does, he said he would have been ready for that, and apparently the UFC, that's not what they wanted. So he just, I guess, stepped aside and said, well, hopefully I can jump back in the mix here, depending on who wins or when Yuri comes back. I'm not sure what he's gonna do. He's pretty close to retirement. He's probably like 43 at this point. I mean, I think he just won the belt, or he's 42. He won the belt when he was 41, so it had to have been just over a year, maybe. So yeah, he's like 42 right now. Might be 43. I could be wrong. I don't know. He's somewhere in that range. Either way, he's up there in age, especially when it comes to, the fight game. That 42 is like 62 in regular. So it's not like dog years, but you know what I mean. The wear and tear on your body, and to be in there fighting in a cage with these young guys it's a young man's game. So being that old and winning the belt at that age, I mean, props to Glover. And I wanted to see him get a shot to get it back, but it fell apart. So now Blachowicz versus Ankalaev, not as exciting of a matchup as Yuri and Glover, because that first fight was phenomenal. It was a great fight for the belt, and the way that it ended was, entertaining as hell. And I was looking forward to the rematch, but it is what it is. They put together a fight quickly, and this is what we get. So if you're looking forward to that Yuri versus Glover rematch, it's off. And December 10th now is going to be for UFC 282 for the light heavyweight championship. Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. Still a good fight. We'll see what it brings. Jan Blachowicz has been involved in some great fights. Ankalaev is a pretty good fighter. He's ranked number 3 for a reason, because he's been doing the damn thing. And yeah, we'll see how this turns out. Jan was the champ before, right? Yeah, I believe so. I always do this. I second guess myself because I got all this stuff in my brain. That's all right. Either way, that's what we got for the new main event. Other big news. Jon Jones. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for him to come back. Wasn't sure if he was ever going to come back. It's probably been like 2 or 3 years now since his last fight, and his last fight wasn't that impressive. So all the troubles outside the cage, him talking about going up to the heavyweight a while back, and then the talks of him doing it. He said he took time off so he could bulk up and get bigger. There's Instagram, Twitter, everything, pictures going around of how big he's gotten, the crazy weightlifting that he's done, and just putting on the size. But that was all in the beginning. We have just been waiting and waiting and waiting, and there's been talks of him versus Stipe. Obviously, the fight to make is him versus Ngannou. That's probably the biggest name fight that could be made, and apparently this is what the plan is. But here's the problem. Ngannou's not even fully recovered from his injury. It sounds like it's taking longer than usual, but there's also the contract disputes with the UFC and Ngannou. Ngannou wanted to go fight in boxing and have a boxing match with Tyson Fury, and the UFC was not having it. And pretty much they were like, nah, you're not doing that. And so they have kind of put him aside, along with not giving him the fights he wants to get, to kind of extend his time in the UFC and not let him go. It's kind of fucked up. But this shit happens all the time. I've talked about it before. the UFC is a great organization, and they do a lot of good things for their fighters and for the sport in general, but there's still these little fucked up things that happen. It happens all the time with everything. Businesses, companies, everything, organizations, all of it. There's always some shady shit going on, regardless. Or that's what's reported, and we don't ever know what's happening in the background, but you hear people talking about things on podcasts, on interviews, putting out tweets, all that shit. So it sounds to me like the UFC likes to be difficult sometimes. It is what it is. Maybe they have Dana sometimes gets vendettas against these guys, and you say something bad about him, and he's like, hey, fuck you, buddy. Let's see what happens when I hold up your money or hold up your contract. So it doesn't sound very ethical, obviously, and it doesn't sound very cool at all, but that's what it is. And Dana does shit like that. Maybe it's not even just Dana. Maybe it's the other higher ups in the organization. Who knows? Either way, Ngannou's still up in the air, but Jones versus Ngannou is what they're aiming and targeting for March, I believe they said. So by then, Ngannou should be well healed and hopefully willing to fight. But those contract agreements, he's definitely one that has talked about fighter pay, saying that they need more they need more pay. They should be paid better than they are, which if you look at the payouts that he's had as a champion, as opposed to some of the bigger names in the UFC, he's not making as much as he should. I don't think. I think it's unfair. I think none of these guys, except with the exception of like Conor McGregor, possibly Nate Diaz, possibly Khabib when he was in, maybe Gamebred, Masvidal, some of these bigger guys that have a lot of following and a lot of popularity with the mainstream kind of audience. Those guys might be getting paid a decent amount. We know McGregor is. That's just without being said. But the rest of the guys, they probably had a few fights where they came out on top, in a big way. But none of these guys get paid what they should, especially with putting the short amount of time, the short lifespan that it is for a fighter in a sport like this, putting their body and heads and just mental wellness, I guess, on the line every time they step in, during training, everything. That's why I constantly talk about the fighter pay stuff too, even though it gets annoying and it gets boring and everyone's like, who gives a shit, just shut up and fucking fight. I get that too. Oh my god, I forgot to turn that off, so that's cool. You're gonna hear my dog barking too, because he's fucking Rambo. When somebody's at the door, he gets crazy, he barks, he jumps. But that's Benny for you, and I love that little shithead. Anyway, back to Ngannou versus Jones. Let's see if it happens. I don't know. It's crazy. The Jones story in general, the Ngannou narrative, all that shit, nuts. The backups that they've talked about though is Jones says he's ready to fight no matter what. So the backups are Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane, which Cyril Gane, that would be an interesting fucking fight. Curtis Blades is more of a wrestler. He likes to take people down and hold them down, kind of leave it at that. I've seen him throw hands here and there, and yeah, but I think Cyril Gane versus John Jones is definitely, if it's not Ngannou, Cyril Gane, I think is the way to go. But that's just it. That's just my opinion. Stipe Miocic was the initial fight that they wanted to make for John Jones. Nothing was happening with that. It was going nowhere. Apparently Jones kept saying that Stipe hasn't signed a contract, all that normal shit. But we just found out earlier this week that Stipe's dad actually just passed away, which is unfortunate. So I assume that weighed heavily on why Stipe wasn't involved into fighting. I'm sure it didn't sound like it was a freak thing, so I'm sure he's been kind of tending to his pops, and then to having lost him, that's a big thing too, because he was very, very close with his dad. You always saw him in the cage with him, and he always had pictures up with his dad. So, you know, that's yeah, it's sad, and it sucks because Stipe's kind of been out the game for a while. He took a lot of big hits. Seemed like it wasn't going well for him when it came to healing up from all that. And then, he looks like he's been more geared towards being just a full-time firefighter, because that's what he does. So yeah, sucks for Stipe, and I feel bad for him. My condolences to him and his family. Losing his dad, that it's just tough, man. So I would love to see him fight again, and I hope he does come back. But more than anything, I hope that they can move on and heal from everything that happened with his dad. So anyway, that was the initial fight that was supposed to happen. That's what they were trying to do, was put together Jones versus Miocic, and it's not happening. So Ngannou was the other big name. I'm trying to make that happen. I believe they said March. We'll see where it goes, because yeah, it's nowhere near confirmed. It's just the rumor. It usually, when they put it out there saying this is being targeted for this date, that usually means this is what the fight we're gonna make, unless something crazy happens. So we'll see if it goes through. And the other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to MMA news is all the retirements that happened this year. I said it before on another episode that it seems like a lot of big names and a lot of guys and Jacek. She's the only woman that is retired this year, but a lot of the big name guys that are pretty popular, 3 of the 4 guys have been champs. All of them have retired this year. So you got Frankie Edgar just retired. His retirement fight did not go well. He got nasty knockout, which he suffered like a few nasty knockouts before this last one. So that was a bad ending to his career, but you can't, he's been around for a long time, and you can't hold it against him. It just sucks to see him go out that way. You got Luke Rockhold, who retired like a few months ago, 2 months ago, something like that, after he fought Paulo Costa. He went out with a bang, considering, he may have lost the fight, but that him wiping his blood all over Costa's face was one of the highlights of this year. But sucks to see him go. And then one of my favorite fighters of all time, I followed Donald Cerrone, Cowboy. I followed him from the time that before he was in the UFC, before he was in the WEC. He was on the Tap Out show. So if you've known me for a long time, I was big into Tap Out. That was my thing. I wore the shirts, I wore the hats, I wore the hoodies. I had stickers all over the place. Tap Out was my thing. But they had a series on, I don't even remember what channel, or I don't remember what it was on. But all I know is I still have the boxed DVD set of all of their episodes. And I saw Cowboy on there. I thought he was cool. Then I saw that he made it to the WEC, and I thought that was awesome, considering the Tap Out guys kind of brought him up. And then I followed his career all the way through, and moving over into the UFC after the UFC acquired the WEC. World Extreme Cage Fighting, by the way, is what the WEC was. If you want to see some damn good fights, go back and watch those. Like I always say, go back and watch Pride, because Pride never dies. The reason for that is because there were so many amazing fights. That organization was really cool back in the day. And yeah, a lot of big names and legends came from that organization. So Pride and WEC are, some of the best fights from back in the day that you can go back and watch. Check it out, YouTube, or I think if you go to UFC Fight Pass, you can actually catch all the fights on there, because they have their catalogs from all the fights because they acquired both of those organizations. That's the UFC, right? Anyway, Cowboy retired this year as well. Unfortunately, big losing streak. I hated seeing that one for sure. So it is what it is. I wish I could have talked about him more. I wish I would have started this before he retired, because I did like Cowboy a lot. I still like Cowboy. I think he's cool, and I follow him on everything because I like the dude, and he's just one of those guys. When I first started watching fighting, always following him. Then you got Jose Aldo, another WEC guy who was in there and a champ there as well as the UFC. Unfortunately, Cowboy never became champ. Frankie Edgar was a champ. Luke Rockhold was a champ. And actually, everybody on this list except for Cowboy was a champ. Which sucks because I wish Cowboy would have got the belt at some point in time. But Jose Aldo was a champ for a very long time. He was a champ in the WEC and then also again in the UFC. And he held the belt for a long time until he ran into Conor. And that 16-second knockout, man, that changed Jose for good, pretty much. And he went on a pretty decent run at the end of his career, but yeah, I just couldn't put it together to get that belt again. But he's a legend no matter what. And then last but not least, we got Joanna Jędrzejczyk, one of my favorite female fighters. If you're around me a few years ago, I was wearing Joanna's shirt all the time. I don't know. I just like the way she fought. And then of course she lost her belt to Rose, and Rose had her number. She couldn't beat Rose, and she came back and had a few good fights with Weili Zhang. Beat a few other people, but it just kind of seemed like she was done. And yeah, she retired this year too. So 5 big names that retired this year, and we're not even done. You know, we have a little over a month left in this year. Will any other big names retire? Who knows? But I just wanted to acknowledge those big names. This popped up in social media earlier this week, and it just stuck with me. So I was like, I got to talk about this one. But yeah, that's about it. Let's see. I don't think there was really anything else big that was happening. A lot of the talks were about, yeah, pretty much the title fight going away. Oh, well, Conor McGregor and Artem Lobov are involved in a lawsuit now. I guess Artem is suing Conor, so that's kind of weird because they're really good friends. Some issues over Proper 12 whiskey, so but yeah, that's about it for that. Now we'll dive into the one event this weekend. So that would be the PFL World Championships in New York City, Friday, November 25th. That'd be tomorrow if you're watching this now. Yeah, and it's gonna be a big one. Anytime Kayla Harrison fights, it's a big fight. And like I said before, she's just pretty much the face of the PFL, and she is arguably the best women's MMA fighter at the moment, and not even in the UFC. So I guess I would argue it a little bit, but her resume is good. She's 15-0. She's undefeated completely in MMA throughout her entire career. And she came from judo. She's a judoka. She was in the Olympics. Yeah. And she's fighting Larissa Pacheco, who she's already beaten twice, unfortunately. Yeah, let's just... I'll get into all that, but this is who you're seeing on the poster. And yeah, that's the main event. So first off, though, let's get into... I'm going to break this down from the bottom to the top of the card. I'm not going to go too deep on all these except for the fighters I really do know. But here's their first fight on the card. Like I said, every weight class has a championship, basically has a championship fight, fighting for the $1 million every weight class, pretty much. So, light heavyweight championship, Robert Wilkinson versus Omari Akhmedov. Both these guys are undefeated throughout the playoffs and this season for leading up to the championship. And yeah, they're fighting for the light heavyweight belt and the $1 million. So, not too keen on either one of these guys. I don't know them that well. PFL is, like I said, I haven't even talked about them that much. So there's some guys I don't know very well, and the guys and girls I don't know very well that fight for this league, but they have acquired a lot of people that are well known. You can look into it a little deeper if you're into that, but you know, I have seen a lot of big exciting fights come out of the PFL, so it's worth watching it if you ask me. And I will be waiting to see the highlights, or I might even watch it live. I'm not sure yet. Actually, this is a pay-per-view, and I don't pay for other pay-per-views. I get the UFC pay-per-views, and that's $80 every month, sometimes twice a month. So I'm not about to pay another $50 for a card that I'm not that excited about, nor do I follow that well. If there was some really big names going on, maybe. Just like I bought the Jake Paul boxing fight not too long ago, or for Halloween or near Halloween. I bought that one. That's Anderson Silva, and I love Anderson, and I was very interested in that fight. So I did buy that one. But normally I don't buy other pay-per-views because I spend enough money on those UFC pay-per-views. So this is one I will not be watching live, but I will definitely be keeping up and waiting for updates on what's happening. Next fight is for the welterweight championship. That's Sadibu Sai versus Delano Taylor. These names might not sound familiar to you. Me either. I just like to be real. I don't know all the fighters in every organization. It's a lot. And I say that all the time, but I just like to remind you so you don't think that I'm just full of shit. Because it's tough. If you want to try to remember all of them, by all means, have fun. But as far as what I can do, I give you what I got. So yeah, welterweight championship. Looks like Sai is the favorite. Barely though. Kind of a pick'em fight. So maybe this is gonna be a great fight. Who knows? Welterweight, good division. See what happens with that one. Next fight, lightweight championship. Now here's an ex-UFC fighter, Olivier Aubin Mercier, or known as OAM, because his name is kind of hard to say. And if you just try to read it, if you're watching this and you look at that and you try to read it, you might not know how to say it. It's that French Canadian stuff, you know. It isn't always said the way it looks, but I've heard it plenty of times. Olivier Aubin Mercier, OAM, fighting Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray's been a big name in the PFL, and I believe he's fought in other organizations as well. But he is an exciting fighter, and the lightweight, I don't know why I can't say the lightweight division. That's what I was looking for. Damn it. Lightweight division, just like in every other organization, is always exciting. So you've got OAM being the favorite. Actually, he's a big time favorite, and I could see why, because he's definitely got the experience. He's fought higher level competition in the UFC, but Stevie Ray is one of those guys that just comes out and does everything he has to do to try to get that win. He does have a loss during the season for the leading up to the championship, but yeah, he's in it to fight for the championship. So let's see who gets that belt and that $1 million. Let's see. I almost lost track of where I was. So here's a women's featherweight fight, not for a championship, but it's notable names because Aspen Ladd just got released from the UFC not that long ago. because she was having trouble making weight. She fights in the 145 weight class, so that is women's featherweight. But she was having issues making. I don't know if she was trying to fight in bantamweight in the UFC. That might have been why she was missing weight so much. Was it 135? Yeah, because she was supposed to fight Miesha Tate, and that's when she got released because she couldn't make the weight again for like the third or fourth time. So she's fighting at 145 against Julia Budd, who is a notable name in a couple different organizations. I believe she definitely fought for Invicta, which is the all women's league, and she's fought for Bellator as well. So now she's in the PFL. She's been around for a while. Let's see, 16-4-0. She's got more fights than Aspen. Aspen Ladd is the favorite, probably just because she's coming from the UFC. Julia Budd is one of those fighters that has a name but hasn't been to the upper echelon of, any of the organizations, I guess. So this should be a pretty exciting fight, I think. I saw already Aspen Ladd did make weight without a problem, from what I understand. So that's good to hear. That means this fight is on, and we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Well, that's interesting. I just noticed it says Aspen Ladd 145, Julia Budd 155. So maybe Julia Budd's coming down from lightweight. Weird. I didn't notice that before. Shit. I'll be waiting to see what happens in this fight. Anyway, next fight. Heavyweight championship. Ante Delija versus Mateus Scheffel. God damn, man. These fucking names kill me. I am not a linguist of any sort, and I do not know how to pronounce most of this shit. I know how to pronounce a lot of people's names that are tough because I hear them all the time, but if I don't hear these names all the time and I see it, I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what it is. I don't know how to say that dude's name. Anyway. Oh, man. 22-5-0 against 17-8-0. Holy shit. Both these boys got some fights between them. Heavyweight championship, though. Looks like Delija. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever the fuck his name is. But it's probably not the best thing to say when I'm trying to go over this, but I've really never heard of either one of these guys, and it is what it is. They got tough names. What the fuck you want me to do? Next fight. Featherweight championship. Here we go. A couple guys I do know. Brendan Loughnane versus Bubba Jenkins. So Bubba Jenkins is a pretty highly decorated wrestler, and he's pretty controversial as well. He was I guess he says he was the inventor of the super duck, which is some kind of move in wrestling. I don't know. I guess he had a lot of success with that when he was wrestling in college and stuff. I guess he wrestled at Purdue, got kicked out, wound up somewhere else. Anyway, he's a damn good wrestler, that's for sure. He's pretty wishy-washy with his record. I'm glad he finally got it together. Seems like every time he moved up to a point where he might be in contention for a belt, he got knocked off and just took forever to pick it all back up and get back together. I only know about him a decent amount because he was a part of the MMA Roasted podcast for a while. So him and Adam Hunter, he was helping Adam Hunter with the podcast for a bit. One of those in and out co-hosts that Adam has all the time. But so yeah, I got to learn a lot about him then. He seems like a really good dude, and he just kind of has this bravado about him, I guess. A little bit of a egotistical thing. He just seems to think he's better than he shows. Sounds to me like he's really talented, but he kind of crumbles when the cards are on the table sometimes. So that's why he hasn't really been up in the big names. So, but Brendan Loughnane as well, one of those guys that has been around for a bit, and has been around in the other organizations. Hasn't been to the UFC, I don't believe. but he's one of the guys that people talk about because he's a damn good fighter, and maybe one day he will be up there. But he is the favorite against Bubba Jenkins, and it'd be cool to see Bubba win. But I like Loughnane as well, so we'll see where that gets us. And then we get to the main event, Women's Lightweight Championship. Kayla Harrison versus Larissa Pacheco. Kayla's obviously the favorite by a big amount because she's already beat Pacheco twice. And Kayla's just one of those names. She's kind of like Cyborg was back in the day when everybody was like, Cyborg's fighting who? Who cares? Big time favorite. Again, same thing as Ronda. That's kind of how Ronda was until she met Holly Holm and got knocked the fuck out with that kick to the face. So yeah, it's always she's always favorited by a big amount, and you kind of just hear about maybe her not fighting up to dominance. I guess sometimes she just doesn't completely dominate, but she definitely is always winning. So there's nothing more you can say except for obviously she's great. So, but her opponent, Larissa Pacheco, as you can see here, got a couple punches in on her here and there, but they did fight twice. And she lost both times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pacheco's on a 5-fight win streak at the moment. She has a lot of first round. Actually, all 5 of those fights were first round finishes. TKO, 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 KO, TKO. And then her last fight before that was a loss to Kayla Harrison. That was a decision loss. Before that, she fought Sarah Kaufman, who, if you follow MMA, you know who Sarah Kaufman is. Been around for a while. She fought her and another girl. So that was a decision win against Kaufman. Bobby Joe Delzeel, submission win. Before that, lost to Kayla, decision again. So both times she's lost to Kayla by decision. So that means that she's given her the work, and it's not an easy fight for Kayla. Maybe that's why they put it together again for the third time. Or maybe it's because she's just a standout contender, the only one that can make it back to fighting for the belt again, and she just can't seem to get over that hump to beat Kayla. But I guess Pacheco is in the UFC for 2 fights. She lost to Germaine Durandamy and Jessica Andrade. Both big names, both well-known fighters, and both, very, very tough competition. So she lost by submission and to Andrade and TKO to Durandamy. So, she's fought some names and she's only lost to the big names. So she might be one of those girls that can never get over that hump and win against the high, the upper echelon of fighters. So who knows? Let's see what she does against Kayla this time for the third time. But Kayla is a badass, and this is why. She is a world-class judoka. This is her throwing Pacheco on her back. Like I said, reminiscent of Ronda Rousey with these head and arm kind of choke type slams, throws, everything. Those judo throws, I don't know what they call them. They have very difficult names, I guess. I've heard them called different things. Whatever they are, it's judo. And judo's based a lot on, hip throws and manipulations of the body to get leverage to basically throw them. And then submissions are included as well. So this is what Kayla does to everybody, pretty much. She throws them, gets them on the ground, submits them, kind of like this. Again, shades of Ronda Rousey with the armbar. That's kind of what Kayla Harrison was doing in the beginning, getting arm bars on everybody. So that's what made everybody make those comparisons to Ronda Rousey. But at this point, Kayla Harrison's looking better than Ronda did, but I don't think that she has a tougher opponents than Ronda did. Even though everybody says that Ronda had not the toughest opponents there could have been. And once she did find somebody tough, like Holly Holm, who he wasn't knocking bitches out before. So Holly Holm just caught that wind and knocked out Ronda and then kept going from there. So yeah, but she doesn't only throw people and submit people, she's got hands too, and she bloodies people up, as you can see here. That's why I picked this picture, because it shows she's got hands too. You know, she can strike, and she usually uses her strikes to set up a throw or to get someone on the ground and submit them. Either way, dominance all around. I don't know that she can hold up against Amanda Nunes. There's been talks of her trying to fight Chris Cyborg. I think at this point she probably would beat Cyborg. Nunes, I don't know. That one's tough. If she went up against somebody like Venezuelan Vixen, what's her name? Damn it, I just blanked. Anyway, the last person to hold the belt. Why can't I remember her damn name? Anyway, I don't know how she would do against these girls in the UFC, but it's sounding like she's trying to slow down a little bit, because she's been involved in the past few seasons of championships, and she's fighting like 4 fights in the matter of 6 months, which is kind of crazy. It's weird to even hear somebody fighting 2 fights. 2 fights in 6 months is about normal. More than that in a 6-month period is kind of unheard of, but that's kind of what this season puts you. It kind of forces them to fight that much. That's what makes it different than the UFC. So, anyway, yeah, that's Kayla in kind of a nutshell. So I'm expecting to see Kayla win. I don't think Pacheco has what it takes to get past her. It's kind of one of those things where she has her number, and I don't know that she's gonna be able to fight that off, unless, I heard Harrison in an interview yesterday, and she was talking about having some kind of personal issues. Sounds like maybe health issues or something of that nature, but there was some kind of cryptic messaging going on there, saying that this is why maybe after this she's going to slow down a bit. Her contract's about to be up with the PFL. I think after this fight she has 2 fights left, which normally it's 4 fights in a season to get to the championships. So it's not enough to get her there to win another million and another belt. So it sounds like she's going to fight out her contract and become a free agent. We'll see where she winds up. I mean, there's always talks about the UFC because it's the biggest place to be. That's the true real test according to everybody. But then there's Bellator to fight Chris Cyborg. They have Kat Zingano right now. That would be a good matchup. But yeah, I don't know where else she would go, especially she fights at 155, not at 145. So she's gonna have to cut weight to fight in any other organization, because PFL is the only organization that has 155 women's division. So if you're interested and you want to watch it, I believe it's $49.99 for the pay-per-view on ESPN Plus. It'll be live tomorrow. I believe 7 p.m. is the main card, something like that. Either way, it's always interesting to watch Kayla Harrison fight. A few other notable names, ex-UFC fighters, and all that good stuff. So check it out if you are wanting to see any kind of combat sports this weekend. This is about the only thing you got. There you go. So that's about it for me, because I took up the hour. Of course, I can ramble on and keep it going. But that's about it for the MMA news and any previews of fights, because that's all we got going on this week. But I will be back next week again, as usual, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Don't forget, just always remember, and I keep meaning to do this at the beginning. I did it last episode. I didn't do it this episode. But if you're watching this, please give it a like, so that way it kind of gets out there. The more likes I get, the better it is. Spreads it around, lets people know that it's a liked podcast and video. So and if you're not subscribed already, please do. I'd appreciate that. Subscriptions mean that people want to see what I'm putting out there. And, the more I get, the better it is for me. And then hit that notification bell as well so you know when I go live or when a new episode comes out. I repeat this all the time. It gets annoying to even me. When I watch YouTube videos, I'm like, fuck, man, why do you got to keep saying it? Because people say it throughout their entire video. Flashing it on the screen is one thing, but constantly talking about it is another. I hate it, but also I understand it now. The only way to get yourself out there is I don't like asking for things like that. It's just not my thing. I don't like doing it. I don't like telling people, "Hey, can you please do this or can you do that? Please, please, please." I don't like it. Sounds like begging, but and that's not really something I like to do. But here's the thing. I do want more people to watch my videos. I do want more subscribers. Um, and I do want more interaction. So comments are welcome. If you get crazy with me, not my fault what happens from there. But if you got something nice to say, I really appreciate it. If you got some questions, throw them in there. I will answer as I can, or I'll address them on the next. I actually have my chat up today because I was told to watch my chat by some people, but I don't think they're here. Anyway, I did throw my chat up now so I can see it in real time, I believe, if it's working correctly. Looks like it is. No comments yet, so whatever. Anyway, this is why I constantly throw this up there and I remind you at the end. Because if you made it this far, yeah, I gotta tell you to like it, please. If you stuck with me this long. And if you're watching this later, you can still go back and like the video. And if you're not subscribed, please do. I'd appreciate that a lot. And as you've seen in the lower corner, I have my social media handles going up. And now I brought it bigger and to the forefront because I want to remind you to also follow me on all social media at Going Arounds Podcast. I post everything that I can for news and just all the good shit going on. I'm not on Twitter as much, but I want to be on there more. Twitter's kind of a shit show these days, as everybody knows. Facebook and Instagram get the most attention and the most activity, but I am always putting up something on TikTok as well. It's kind of a blooper reel. I'm gonna see what other kind of content I can throw out there, but for now, it's kind of a blooper reel because I always do something stupid throughout the show, and I figure if I can laugh at myself, then other people can laugh at me too, and that's cool. I like it. I enjoy it. Go check it out, like it, and yeah, just follow me on everything. Also, if you want to listen to audio only, I'm on all these platforms you see here. Spotify, you can watch video and have audio, or just have audio only. Everywhere else is audio only. Check it out. And if you can't find me on anywhere that you get your podcast from normally, let me know, and I will do everything I can to get it on there because I appreciate you wanting to listen or listening in general. So if you don't have it in a place that's convenient for you, let me know and I will do my best to get it there. So I'd appreciate that. And lastly, I am on a few other podcasts. It's kind of all of them are kind of a conglomeration of all of them put together, but it is what it is. Three different names, two different platforms. We got the final episode Sundays at 7 p.m. Every time I give you is Arizona time. Um, you'll have to you'll have to yeah, fix the time for whatever region you're in, I guess. But 7 p.m. Arizona time, Sundays on YouTube is the final episode. Not to be Dangerous is on Twitch, 7 p.m. as well on Tuesdays, and the Rumble, which is the one we're trying to push the most right now. We're trying to get some good content out there for the Rumble. So you can follow the Rumble podcast on TikTok. I believe I just saw we're on Twitter now. So, but yeah, the Rumble is on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on uh why'd I just blank out? YouTube. Yeah. So YouTube and Twitch, you can find all of our stuff. Check it out. come watch me on a different podcast interacting with a few other guys. Uh, it's funny. We get into arguments. We get into, unfortunately, we get into politics. We get into pop culture stuff, movies, shows, streaming services, everything. Um, so yeah, if you like that, we've been doing some stuff called the draft. I'm sure you've seen it on TikTok, stuff like that. We draft things like cereals, breakfast foods, um, sodas, stuff like that. Kind of weird, but cool. And it's fun. And we have fun with it because we like to talk shit to each other while we do it. It's hilarious. And like I said, go check the Rumble out, the Rumble podcast on TikTok. There's some good stuff there. Yeah, I appreciate you listening to all of that. And I appreciate you listening to this podcast if you're here with me still, or if you're listening later. But either way, I am thankful for you on this Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful to have this podcast and all the guys that I had podcasts with that I just listed because it's, oh shit. Good call, Tommy. Damn it. I forgot about the time change. It's actually 8 p.m. for everything. Uh Arizona time. I forgot because I hate stupid time change. So good call, Tommy. Thank you for that. That's why I like having my watch on. And where you at on the chat though? I didn't see you on the chat. Um anyway, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you next time. Next week on Going Rounds, Thursday, 7 p.m. That's why I said 7, because I still do this show at 7 p.m. every Thursday on YouTube. Check it out. Happy Thanksgiving. Go eat some leftovers. Have some drinks. Have some fun. Enjoy your family. I appreciate and love you all. Thank you very much. Peace. As I don't hit the button at the right time.